So I'm Mark Pearson. I've had a long relationship with California Lawyers for the Arts, and I helped Ben. I don't know where it's been here. With this year's event, it's been a great relationship. But I also sit on the Board of Governors for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, so I'm really excited about this upcoming panel because it's kind of mixing the two worlds. And this is a very exciting thing, and it's exciting we're actually being webcast live right now. So a lot of people are saying, well, television and music, what's the connection? And I think there's a number of connections, including the one that they're going to talk about on the panel today, and I'll let Cynthia introduce her panelists here in a minute. But there's a lot of crossover. I see some of my colleagues from television world back there, and they don't usually worry too much about music when they're doing the news because of fair use, but it's definitely an issue to discuss. But as they transition, as many of them do, into the private world, and they start doing commercials and commercial enterprises, then the issue of music licensing becomes a big deal, especially in television. So that's one of the ways that we definitely see the crossover between television and music. And another way is something that we're going to be looking at in the future, and that is the way that content is distributed. I think we all see it coming, where there's going to be a day when all the content that we get comes from one central location, and it's all going to be streamed. We won't have physical product, even a file anymore. Everything will be streamed. So you'll have one service where you'll be able to listen to all the music you want, watch the TV shows that you want, watch the movies that you want. And so the revenue model and the legal issues and all of those things that will come into play for that distribution model will be shared by all of the different facets of entertainment. So another area where television and music come into play. And then, of course, the issue that they're going to be discussing today that has to do with digital rights and intellectual property on the web. And so without further ado, I turn it over to my esteemed colleague, Cynthia, who will introduce her panel. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for bringing us the opportunity to present this panel to the audience today. Welcome, I'm Cynthia Zeiden. I'm the National Program Chair for the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, and what I do is basically put together educational events for the entire organization. What we do mainly is bestow the Emmy Award on the national and regional levels, but we do all kinds of other things in addition to that. Just so you know, you should have gotten a little card about our organization to give you some information. So if you're interested in becoming a member, our regional website for this chapter is emmysf.tv, emmysf.tv. And if you are from somewhere else in the United States, you can find your regional chapter by going to Emmy Online, EMMYONLINE.TV/chapters-directory. That will give you a list of all the 19 chapters and the contact information and website for each of all of those. So we hope you look into that and look into becoming a member, because we do all kinds of educational work and give out scholarships and mentor and all kinds of interesting things. So today our panel is basically how to protect your intellectual property rights when you place your content online. And this is a crossover panel. We have several people from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences online watching this live as a webcast with us. Hello, everybody. We have a fantastic panel here, and before I introduce them, I just wanted to thank the California Lawyers for the Arts, Mark Pearson and Ben Shaw, who have been wonderful helping us set this up. We have a huge crew from NATAS here helping today, among the leaders, Daryl Compton, our executive director for this region, and Anthony Nielsen, our webcast guru back there, and everyone else who is here. Thank you so much. So when I talk about crossover, for those of you who are into television online, when you hear the word music, substitute content. I think that will help make this all very relevant to everybody. And so we're going to be hearing from Jarid Johnson and Bryn Boughton and Jeffrey Brandstetter, who is our resident attorney on the panel. He's got some super hot stuff coming for us on this. And so we're going to start out with Jarid.
So I know we saw a show of hands a moment ago about how many of you guys are musicians. I want to see those hands again. Raise them really high. I want to see how many people in here. Okay, so you're sort of the folks I'll be talking to. And what I'm going to talk about is how to promote your music with video, and primarily using it online. So how many of you folks recognize these logos? It's pretty identifiable, right? So what I want to do is talk about, I want to start off by creating a context for the conversation here. And in addition to being an artist, for this moment, I want you to also think about it yourself. If you haven't done so already, think of yourself and your band as a brand, and the art that you create as content or a product that you sell in order to generate an income, and as a way to promote yourself as well. So now, now that we have sort of this context about band as brand, why use video to promote that band or that brand or the music? So video provides your fans with an immediate experience of an immediate emotional connection, essentially. And it helps build your audience quickly and effectively. So what you're looking for is that immediate emotional connection with your fans. Video also allows you to generate immediate experience of comprehension, which is much quicker and much faster than just the print or even music online. You can get your information much more quicker across to your fans. The amount of information that is displayed in a second of video is actually much greater than the amount of information that can be read, which means that the emotional effect of video often comes across much quicker before the full appraisal of the content or even the comprehension of the meaning of that video. So what does video do for you? Video has the ability to recreate the experience of being face-to-face. So through video, we can actually display much of who we are as people and through physical and verbal expression. Video, well, for branding, actually, that's really important as it allows you to display who you are as a person. More effectively than with an image or an audio or text. So online movies essentially bring your band to life and allow fans to know you more intimately. Video can also indicate professionalism and brand quality. So how many of you provide high quality music online, like recordings? You're pretty adamant about your music being high quality, right? So you need to do the same thing with your visuals as well. The higher quality your video, the more likely you are to be perceived as a legitimate entity. With quality visuals, your fans and potential fans, as a matter of fact, are more likely to watch your movies and actually share them. Video is also a key factor in something a little more technical called search engine optimization. So one of the earlier panels, they discussed having a website, which I think is really important. And so search engine optimization essentially is a way to get more people onto your website. So people are actually more inclined to click onto a link that has video as its thumbnail image, and that increases traffic to your website. Through increasing viewer engagement, video content also creates greater conversions, and that's generally converting people into paying customers. So if you have merchandise or music online that you're trying to sell, then you want to convert those people into buying your product. And so having video on there will also sort of help facilitate that. Links are also a very important metric to driving people to your website. Search engines determine the authority of your content, and they see referring links as basically votes for your pages on the web. And search result rankings are then based on a combination of relevancy, which is determined by the content on the page, and also authority, which is determined by the number of referring links and social shares. So links are very important. And also video search engines seek out video, obviously. So YouTube is the world's second largest search engine behind Google. And having a YouTube channel will help rank you higher on both YouTube and Google in searches. And that will ultimately drive your band as brand awareness, referrals, and sales to your website. So beyond making a video, you must also promote it. That's very important. So social media essentially has become the new MTV. With video on the web, distribution is basically democratized. So you have a choice to create your own channels and share those with your fans. You want to also promote to your fans first, because they will be your biggest supporters. They will always be your biggest supporters. They will always be the ones that will spread the word for you, spreading your word to their friends, your content to their friends and beyond. And you also want to share as often as possible and with as many people as possible, because even though you maybe get tired of your content or your video, there's always going to be somebody out there who has never seen it and will want to watch it and share it as well. So where are a couple of places to share your videos? Well, there's the obvious ones. YouTube has over 800 million unique visitors per month and is by far the most used video sharing platform on the web. So you want to have a YouTube channel. Vimeo is a little bit smaller. It's niche. It's a little more, about 10 million unique visitors a month. But its smaller size creates a much more intimate and fully engaged user community. Facebook, obviously, is a great place to reach out directly and make an immediate contact with your fans and potential fans, for that matter. In addition to video, it's a great way to share information, promote your live shows, provide special offers, and even advertise if you're so inclined. And then, of course, you always want to do email newsletters, and you want to make sure that by adding video links to your email newsletters, you can make more of a direct connection to fans and then drive them back to your other social networking sites like, Vimeo, YouTube, etc., and to your website. So before I show you a quick demo, I want to just give you a brief description of some of the different types of video content that you can create. I've sort of defined what I call a social media spot, which is really just a short commercial, and it's a quick way to get to promote like a new music release or even a back catalog. A release promo is a little bit longer. It among other things, creates relationship with your audience, with your fans, but it also highlights your most recent music and again, even your back catalog. A release promo, an artist introduction. So if you're a new artist, you might want to, let people know a little bit about who you are. And so this is a great way to reach out to new fans. And it's also a good way to gain attention of booking agents and management who might want to know a little bit more about who you are. A live performance creates excitement for your live shows. It might be just a simple single camera promo, which, by the way, a lot of promoters and booking agents want to see an unedited version or an unedited video of your performance so that they can sort of see what you're really like on stage without editing. You can also create feature-length concert DVDs to generate income. And if you were here for the earlier session, they talked about bundling. So if you're providing free music and you want to provide something else that's unique, then a concert DVD or concert performance is a great way to bundle that with your other product to sort of then monetize it. You can also use concert DVD material, for to provide content for web, TV, and cable outlets, or simply just to give away to your fans as an incentive. And then a lot of bands now are also doing, their own festivals. You might have heard of the Modown or Camp Disco, Lollapalooza, these kinds of things. So if you're doing something like that, video is a perfect way to promote such an event and to provide announcements for the lineup and excite fans and sell your tickets. So this is certainly not an exhaustive list of ways you can use video. You might have heard of Nicky Bloom and the Gramblers, and their band sessions went viral. And there's other things that you can do, but let's take a quick look at some of these samples. Thanks.
My own path is
how I came upon a lot of the material for this album was this project that I started, and I called it A Song a Week. And what I did was I created a new song, and I accomplished it for 21 weeks straight.
It was years ago, Mama taught me so to let it out. Building walls with stone, distance from home, take a different route.
1, 2, 3, 4.
An ejaculatory expression of accordion.
But it's not all about sex.
Always, always satisfying.
It's like 7 gallons of pop rocks in your mouth.
Doing what you want, dressing how you want.
With the accordion, we play the party instruments of the old country with the party music of today.
We love to do it, and it's just always party.
Every day is carnival for us.
Do some more sex with no hands. Incredible.
Baby, 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 forever San Francisco.
To a party like this at night. Let's give it up for Las Tortugas!
All right, well, so a quick summary of the benefits for promoting your music with video. It improves user engagement, increases your fan base, enhances the fans' experience, and creates a relationship. It creates brand awareness, enhancing your brand as band, your band as brand. It improves search visibility for your website, holds viewers to your website longer, builds links and conversions. And the ultimate goal is to generate income for your music, your merchandise, and tickets to your performances. Thank you very much.
So my name is Brynn Mountain, and in 2003, I started Iris Distribution, which was right on the heels of the iTunes Music Store launch. And we were one of the first digital music distributors, actually, in the world. And in 2007, we launched a marketing agency arm of our company called Blinker Active. And we worked with our labels. We had about 900 labels independent labels that we distributed at Iris. We worked with our retail stores. So we had 400 or so digital retail outlets around the world that we worked with. And then we worked with brands. Some clients were Scion, Toyota, Stella Artois, Electrolux, brands that wanted to use music in their marketing campaigns. And so I ran Iris and Blinker Active up until about a year ago when we sold the company to Sony. I'm still advising a few music-related companies, but that's my background in music. So when my daughter was 3, she started asking a lot of questions about what my job was, and it was really hard to explain that we worked with digital retailers around the world and what an independent record label was. And so to simplify it, I told her that we helped to sell music so that more people could listen to it. And her response was, why don't people just share their music? And she's 3, so of course she's learning about sharing, and that's what you're supposed to do. And so I thought it was really, it was funny, especially in contrast with the big anti-piracy campaigns that were going on at that time. And so we decided to put together these little shirts. I have a friend who's an illustrator for Yo Gabba Gabba. And so we made these kids shirts that said, "I share everything but my music." And what it was is what we were trying to do is illustrate the difference between the positive connotation of sharing, turning people on to new music that you really like, and the negative implications of sharing, consuming someone's IP without compensating them for it. And so what I wanted to talk a little bit about was how to promote your music while actually taking advantage of the culture of free. So the most important thing is that you first start out by having a plan. And so it's been said that if you don't have a plan, you quickly become part of someone else's plan. And so you have to, so a lot of the, I guess, protection, as I see it, is in really controlling what you can as part of this experience. And where do you start with the plan? So first you have to understand what success looks like to you. And everyone's concept of success is different. So it could be just purely monetary, you're looking to support yourself, this is a business to you. It could be recognition. It could be you want to collaborate with some specific other artist, you want to play a certain size stage. But really think about what it actually would mean to you to be successful. And then you have to think about how are you going to measure that success. So again, this depends on what you've identified as success. Does this mean sales numbers? Does it mean likes or email addresses? Does it mean placements for film and TV? Looking for really indicators of that you're on the right path. A key part of your plan is also making it available. And it's kind of a double-edged sword that we're experiencing with distribution these days. It used to be that the lack of distribution was the problem, that there were these gatekeepers and that it was hard for artists to make their music available. And now that almost anyone can make their music available, what we're dealing with is the problem in reverse. So you're dealing with just a glut of music. There's much more competition. If you made it onto the shelves, then you were in a pretty good position. And now you're competing with every piece of music ever created. So there's a number of ways that you can make your music available. There's aggregators, which with my company, fell into that bucket, that work either with labels or directly with artists. Some of them work on a percentage of sales. Some of them work for an upfront fee. TuneCore, DistroKid, Louder, there's a lot of them for artists. Secondly, there are non-interactive streams. So you have the internet radio like Pandora's, you have satellite radio, and then you also have direct-to-fan, which was talked about, I know, a lot in previous panels. If you're the type of artist that has a real relationship and has a fan base, selling directly to fan is a really viable way to go. And then before you make it available, you want to claim it. So you want to make sure that it's that all your songs are registered with performing rights societies and with Sound Exchange to make sure you're collecting on your streaming, your master rights for your streaming audio. And then also think about outside of the US. So within the US, digital retail stores are required to pay all royalties through to whoever's providing the music. But outside of North America, stores actually set aside your mechanical royalties and pay them directly to collection societies. So if you don't have a deal with someone that's collecting for you or have a deal with someone who has a reciprocal relationship, then there's a lot of money being left on the table there. And lastly, adding value. So if you're the type of artist that has a relationship with their fans on social media, you want to give them a vehicle for really supporting you. You want to give them other ways that they can buy different types of products. If you're an artist that kind of requires a little more mystery and you don't have that type of relationship, you can put out different types of product. You can have different value adds, whether it's video. You can have multiple types of releases or multiple packages of the same release. But again, this is a lot of what was covered in previous panels. But you want to give people something that makes sense for them to buy, something that's in addition to just a digital file. And that's all I have. So if you have children and you would like a shirt, I have some of these left that will be available at the back table. So share your music in a good way.
I am Jeff Brandstetter. I'm an entertainment attorney in San Francisco. I specialize in film, TV, and music. I'm also the CEO of Indie Playa, which is an online film distribution and marketing company that empowers indie filmmakers and distributors with what we believe is a robust tool set, an incredible platform, and most importantly, metrics so that they can make intelligent decisions about their marketing spend. So I wanted to go over a few basics. I know we don't have a lot of time, and I know we wanted to leave some questions for the end. So I'm going to try and do the next best thing to the Vulcan mind meld and flip through some of this for you. I assume everybody in this room understands how social media works, at least on a rudimentary level. The thing I want to draw your attention to is the italicized language, if you'll read along with me. What you are granting when you publish your content on a social media site is a non-exclusive, meaning they're not the only ones who are getting it, royalty-free, meaning you ain't getting anything for it in terms of money, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide license to use. That's what a license really is a right to use, as opposed to what was mentioned earlier, really ownership. You're not transferring ownership in your content. You're merely giving them a right to use, and it may be as limited as a non-exclusive royalty-free one to the other extreme where it is exclusive and you are in fact paying something for it, getting paid something for it, excuse me. So how do you protect your work? And I want to underscore something. Although we are currently, and I love the fact that this is being videotaped, I once spoke at the opening of the Expressions New Media Center back in 2000, and we were asked to prognosticate on the state of the industry 5 years hence. And I loved it because it was on tape, and you can go to the archives and you can actually look this up. Everyone else on my panel was saying, physical product is dead, it's not going anywhere, it'll be lucky if it lasts 2 more years. Well, I have a fairly deep knowledge of film and TV, and I know that, at least on the film side, physical product was far and away the principal driver of sales. And when I heard this, I was just visibly shaking my head, and I said, no way, no how. There's no way the physical product is dead in 2 years. There's no way it's dead in 5 years. And of course, it's on decline. And the decline would be even steeper on the film side if you didn't have Blu-ray and enhanced video, but it went slowly. And the reason is because these industries, and in this sense, the film and music industries are identical. They have expended many dollars and many years building their models. And they are not simply going to chuck all of that simply because a few pundits say physical product is dead. Meaning, it's a slow decline, and yes, your digital sales and rentals will increase as the physical product goes down, but it doesn't go away completely. The other thing is that many of the principles from the physical side get incorporated into the digital distribution rights model. So it's not wasted time to understand what was happening in terms of rights grants and transfers on the physical side. It's something that's portable to digital. All right, so what do you want to do? You want to protect your rights. You want to lock them in. Bryn's already covered on the PRO side, sound exchange for digital and foreign collection societies. I want to focus on the Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office, simply because this is such an inexpensive way to protect your rights that you're really foolish not to do so if you're a content creator, or not to strongly recommend to your clients if you're representing them as counsel. If you do it online, it's a sweetheart deal. You do it online, it's a $35 fee as opposed to the normal $65 fee, and they allow full e-filing, including the deposits. The processing time for e-filing is faster. And what does this do? It avails you of multiple rights, including certain statutory damages and attorney's fees. And it really, at least on the attorney's fees side, for example, this can really be the tail that wags the dog in terms of enforcement. Resist the urge to do the so-called poor man's copyright, which is mailing content to yourself. I can't tell you the number of songwriters and script writers, for that matter, who have done this in the past. I can't encourage you not to do that enough. Yes, it will help you in a small way, and I say that as a litigator, in terms of meeting your burden of proof, but it pales by comparison to an actual registration. When you post your content, when you publish it, do so with a notice. And this is actually very straightforward. If you recall from the initial slide, I put this on the first slide. You should put it wherever first practicable. It doesn't have to destroy your presentation, but it's something that should appear in a place that's recognizable up front, and I like to include it in a watermark. A watermark is what you see diagonally. So what have I done? I've added something which is not exactly traditional under the code. I've added the TM symbol, meaning I'm trademarking, laying claim to certain names in this presentation, and the copyright symbol, the year that it was created, and the owner, that would be me. I also, on the very first page, added the words, all rights reserved. Now, we've all seen this. This is really a vestige of the past. It does afford you possibly certain rights. It at least puts the world on notice in the same way that this copyright notice puts anyone who, a potential infringer, on notice if you're filing a lawsuit here in the United States. What it does is it defeats the so-called innocent infringer defense, which quite simply refers to a defendant saying, I didn't know that you were asserting a copyright to this. If you can show that, in fact, in every instance that you published your work, you actually put a copyright notice, you get to say, you can't assert that. And it takes away that defense. I like to think of it as a keep them honest provision. You have something in contrast to the all rights reserved provision. Lawrence Lessig, the former Stanford professor, now Harvard professor, created Creative Commons, which is a part of the so-called copyleft movement as opposed to copyright. And there it's best characterized as some rights reserved. And they carve out 4 main modules of what those reservation of rights are. This would be in contrast to all rights reserved. And I don't mean to poo-poo that. I actually think that going down that path of Creative Commons can be beneficial depending on what you want to do. So for example, if you are looking to, as Bryn suggested earlier, incentivize people to use your content or a portion thereof for free, that's a great time to use something like a Creative Commons, because it frees it up. It also tells the world there are certain rights that are available. We're only laying claim to a portion of them. One last thing I want to say about protecting your rights. Because it's so easy to do, because it's so inexpensive, do so for derivative works. So these are substantial changes to your work. If it's significant enough to constitute a derivative work, and I don't want to go into the nuances of that right now, register a new copyright for that work. What are some other things that you can do as added protections? You can add watermarks, such as the one you see in diagonal. You can, and by the way, when you're dealing with audio or audio-visual content, they have the equivalent of this watermark as well. You also have embedded metadata or digital fingerprints that are traceable but aren't visible to the naked eye when you're viewing the content. And this is actually significant in terms of being able to police your work and be able to track who and where any sort of piracy is taking place. Post an explicit permissions policy, spelling out exactly what they can do with this. So, for example, on the beginning, I state, no part of these materials may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the law offices of Jeffrey Branstetter. It's pretty extreme, but I do that because I wanted to give you an example of what is actually most common, in contrast to the Creative Commons approach that I mentioned earlier, which allows certain uses. So, for example, you may allow use of your content for any purpose lawful, any lawful purpose, provided they give you the right of attribution. In other words, they mention you by name as the author. Okay, what are some other things you can do? You can offer a lesser sonic quality of your content, and this includes the visual as well. Lesser audio and or visual quality for your content. You can do this through making it a super compressed file, and that way it's not the highest and best copy, but you're offering that for free. Another alternative is to offer mere snippets, where you're offering merely a small sampling of what you're offering. The method I actually prefer is offering a streaming-only version as opposed to downloads. And the reason I do is because you can create multiple layers of protection in streaming so that there isn't even an ephemeral copy made on your hard drive or on the end user's hard drive as they're downloading. It's a progressive stream, excuse me. Without that ephemeral copy, it's very difficult for them to copy the file. In this digital age, if you can grab the entire file, potentially you've lost your ability to distribute the content. And the last thing is provide your contact details. Why? If you're asking people to contact you for permission or clearances, they need to be able to get a hold of you easily. If you take away that barrier, you make it that much more likely for them to get a hold of you. Real quickly, you can use two types of services. You can use so-called plagiarism search services. These double as copyright infringement services. Just real quickly, plagiarism is an academic violation as opposed to copyright infringement, which is outside of the academic realm. It's not limited to, I should say. It can be in the academic realm, but it's not limited to just in the academic realm. Copyscape is a great company that does that, and they will look for identical snippets of your content elsewhere. Google Alerts, another great tool for this. Be sure to use quotation marks around the strings of content that you're looking for as a way of grabbing those phrases. Otherwise, the results you get back are too broad, and it doesn't work in a traditional Boolean search way. It doesn't force the and. It basically searches for the or, meaning this term or that term, and you get an overbroad field of search results. So what should you do if you've found somebody who is actually infringing? You know, despite the fact that I cut my teeth on litigation, first coming as a lawyer, and some would say as a result of damaged goods, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Why? Because in my experience, most people fall into one of two categories. Either they really are an innocent infringer, or they didn't mean it maliciously. You know, they were, yeah, maybe they had some sense, but they're not really out to screw you. So what do you do with somebody like that? My father always taught me you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. It's trite but true. I prefer the gracious approach. As opposed to coming out, you know, I was once told, you know, just because you have a sledgehammer in your tool chest doesn't mean you have to pull it out every time. Ask them nicely to remove it. 9 times out of 10, once somebody's alerted, they'll do just that, and they do it fairly promptly. It's the ones who blow you off, the ones who tell you through their silence, go pound salt, those are the ones that you have to take the lawyer-like approach. I don't care who you use. You have some wonderful attorneys in this room and outside of this room. Sometimes getting a cease and desist letter on attorney letterhead is just enough to put the fear of God or whatever into people, and they do the right thing. In addition, you want to send a takedown notice, which Tom Levin's referenced. I won't go into it now. He covered the safe harbor provisions of under the DMCA that basically protect the ISPs from any sort of liability, and they are more than happy to cooperate with you if you provide them with evidence of infringement. Just one thing to note is this concept of overblocking, which is you're requesting that they take down a non-infringing site. There's no statutory penalty for it, but you are inviting litigation for damages to the content creator if you do it. So don't be overzealous about it, because if it turns out that they are not infringing and it does affect their profits, you may be on the receiving end of a lawsuit for interference with economic prospective economic advantage and other claims. Okay, so if these things do not work, they've forced your hand, and at this point you have to enforce your rights. As a lawyer, I can't in good conscience say, do it yourself. A lot of things you can do yourself. I'm a big fan of direct-to-consumer, direct-to-fan distribution. I wouldn't be heading up a company that does that for film if I didn't think so. But when it comes to this, don't do this. And until the new Copyright Act that Tom alluded to comes down the pike, give or take a decade, think seriously about retaining counsel for this. And these are the various causes of action that you most often see for this. Note that the copyright infringement, that $100,000 occurrence only occurs, you're only entitled to that if you have in fact registered with the Copyright Office prior to the infringement. All right, so real quickly, what are the licenses that you're going to need for using music in connection with audiovisual works? These licenses are essentially the same, and these are really the basics of music law. You've got the master itself, and you need remember, a license is a right to use. You need a right to use that master recording, and on the underlying composition side, you need a sync license in order to sync that song, that underlying composition, to the audio. In addition, if you happen to be operating a website that is doing a public performance, you're going to have to deal with the performance license for that. Sound Exchange will do it for web radio uses. And you should note that there isn't normally a right for a public performance right for masters. It only comes into play if you're dealing with audio only. So if it's paired with the visual, there's no public performance right, meaning you can't force the songwriter to allow its use in connection with AV material. I am getting the signal, so I'm going to stop. Sorry, that wasn't exactly a mind meld, but I appreciate the patience.
Everybody, let's have a hand for Jeff. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you learned a lot.